The new normal.
That new normal.
Our new normal looks like.
Another new normal.
This will be the new normal.
What if I told you there was something that you can do right now that would have an immediate positive benefit for your brain, including your mood and your focus?
We found that over half, 57% of today's children will have obesity at the age of 35.
And what if I told you that same thing could actually last a long time and protect your brain from different conditions like depression, Alzheimer's disease, or dementia? Would you do it?
1 in 10 deaths worldwide can be blamed on illnesses that are caused by lack of exercise.
I am talking about the powerful effects of physical activity that is simply moving your body, has immediate, long-lasting, and protective benefits for your brain.
Next into the tank is Cole Flanagan and Ethan Kiersgaard. Cole is a successful floor coating business co-owner, a 3-sport varsity athlete, and a varsity mathlete. He is in the top 10 of his class, has taken 9 AP classes, and was recognized as an AP scholar with distinction. Ethan is a WHS legend. He is the class president 4 years running, in the top 9% of his class, and has taken 12 AP courses, won an Excellence in Acting Award at the state level, received the Sage College Book Award, and runs the Freshman Mentoring Program here at Windham High School.
Hello, Sharks. We are here today to secure funding for our revolutionary game-playing device, the ChronoG. We are asking for $500 in aid to develop this innovative watch.
In a time of extensive lockdowns, there is a need now more than ever for a way for teenagers to safely socialize and remain active. Our product, the ChronoG, revolutionizes staple games such as Manhunt and Capture the Flag in a way that obeys current social distancing guidelines and still manages to remain relevant once those guidelines no longer need to be enforced.
The ChronoG resembles an electronic watch and is outfitted with both a radio a radio transceiver and a GPS patch antenna. Now, the radio transceiver allows us to be accurate up to 1 to 2 feet, and the ChronoG to communicate with other devices. The GPS patch antenna allows the ChronoG to find its own location.
The question everyone asks us, why can't this be done with just a simple phone app? As a runner, I commonly have to run anywhere from 6 to 10 miles per day. I need to track my distance ran and the pace I run at in order to track my improvement. Now, this can be done with a simple phone app, but still, no one who takes running even half seriously runs with their phone. Why? Well, it's simple. It just plain sucks. It's bulky and extremely inconvenient. Instead, we wear a light GPS-enabled watch.
People happily shell out hundreds of dollars just to not have to run with a phone in their hand or pocket. Every game the ChronoG has incorporates physical activity, and having a phone just reduces the fun and keeps kids on their phones.
Apart from the inconvenience, a phone does not have all the necessary technology needed to play many of the games, specifically the radio transceiver. GPS alone is not nearly accurate enough to produce a robust experience. So, the ChronoG allows for close proximity responsiveness in a compact watch format.
Now, let's talk about the games. Manhunt. It's a staple among kids and teens alike. Usually, it's played in a yard or field. A group of kids gets together and a part of them goes and hides, while some of them stay back and count to a certain time, let's say 2 minutes. After that time is up, they go and hunt down the people hiding. After a certain amount of time, the hiders win, if they're not all tagged. This game, as played normally, has many limitations, such as the fairness of being tagged, the social distancing in this modern COVID age, as well as the size of the yard or field.
Now it can be played across an entire town. All players would be wearing the ChronoG. The prey would have, say, 5 to 10 minutes to get away from the hunters. After that time has elapsed, the hunters begin searching. The hunters would be able to see their approximate distance from the prey on their ChronoG device. As they moved, they would either become closer or farther away from the prey and would be able to change their direction of search based on that. Once the hunters become within sight of the prey, the chase is on. First to get within 10 feet of the prey wins that round, at which point the ChronoG will light up, signaling the round is ended and for all players to return to the start point.
And that's only one version of the many categories of Manhunt within the Watch, as well as other games such as Capture the Flag and Scavenger Hunts, and tons more. On top of that, the ChronoG has a timekeeping feature and an exercise tracking feature. It truly has it all.
We have also gathered market research of over 150 people to see how the public will react to the ChronoG. We found that 83% of people had played Manhunt, over 99% have played Capture the Flag in their lives. The most amazing part of our survey was that 2/3 of respondents said they would purchase the ChronoG or a device like it at a $30 price point. Currently, our estimated cost to produce a unit, once we have a working prototype, is $20 to $22. It's extremely important to note this is completely without scale, and once scaled, we estimate the cost to manufacture a unit to be at most $10 to $12.
So Sharks, will you join us in revolutionizing the world of games?
Can you explain the use of the transceiver a little bit more? Is it for long distance, or is it purely for accurate ranging at very short distance? Is it for communication between devices, or is it simply ranging?
So we have both a GPS patching antenna and the transceiver. The GPS is going to be more for the longer distance, and that transceiver has a 5-kilometer range. So that's going to be used for the accuracy at close distances, because GPS is not going to be extremely accurate to the close distances we need it at the same price point.
Are you calling 5 kilometers a close distance?
No, so essentially the 5 kilometers is when the radio transceiver will kick in, and it's accurate up to 1 to 2 feet, unlike GPS.
I'm confused. That's confusing. So what technology in the radio are you using for this accurate distance measurement?
So we're using a radio transceiver that emits radio waves, and then the transceiver is both what transmits and receives the radio waves.
So just for clarification, and I apologize, going along with Doug's question, player A and player B are in Central Park.
Yes.
And they are hiding. Player C and player D are 20 city blocks away.
Yep.
And they are moving around in their little park.
Yep.
And they virtually see the two in Central Park, or do they actually have to make their way towards Central Park?
So they're going to, on their device, basically see if they're however many blocks away. They'll say they are 0.75 miles away from them. Mm-hmm. And we can do it with either having a direction towards it or without the direction. And so as they walk, they'll say, oh, now we're 0.7 away, now we're 0.6, and that visual component's going to kick in once you're close.
So, but ultimately, they win if they actually find the two, player A and player B, in Central Park.
Exactly.
So basically, the transceiver and the GPS are just cheating ways for them to find the people, because otherwise, obviously, they have no idea where they would be.
Exactly.
So would it not make more sense for the GPS/radio transceiver to stop working when they get within a certain distance, so then they actually have to go hunting for them?
So this is where the social distancing aspect comes into it. So once you're in a very close proximity, at that point, the radio transceiver is kicked on, and that's when you need to get in, let's say, 2 to 5 feet of the person. And that feature is only necessary for the social distancing of right now. So essentially, in the future, you'll be able to just say, oh, you need to get so close where that's a tag. So the radio transceiver will be tuned to that degree.
So again, and I apologize, because in order for player C and D to see the basic general location of A and B, there has to be a GPS transmission.
There will be, yes.
So it's not just a receiver, it's also a transmitter.
Yes.
And you've gone through the details of what it takes to acquire a license for all that?
Yes.
And you're saying that your unit cost will be, you're estimating between $20 and $22?
In the beginning, that's what we've estimated.
And that's for both the transmitter, the receiver of GPS, plus the RF transceiver.
So far, our research
and
is
a display, if I heard you correctly.
Yes, we have a display.
All for, okay.
Yeah, so buying it completely retail, we have the display around $5, the transceiver at around $5, and the patch antenna to $3 to $3.50.
Okay.
I'll ask a question on the marketing side of things. What is your ideal target market, and how are you going to, to begin with, reach that market?
Yeah, so our ideal market is teenagers, so we're looking at the 14 to 20-year age range. And one thing teenagers are known for is gossip. So a huge part of our market strategy, if we ever get there, is going to be word of mouth. So for example, going to schools, giving students a discounted version of the ChronoG, and then having those students at that school use it. And if it's as good as we think it's going to be, they'll tell their friends, and their friends will then buy it at the full price.
Okay, so like an ambassador type of a program? Okay.
So manhunt is basically over when you pretty much tag the other person. Am I right? Basically, from how I understand it, the game starts using these ChronoG receivers to be massively socially distanced to a point of kilometers or miles. And the end game of the game is to not be socially distanced any longer and to physically touch the person, or how do you know when you win?
So essentially, you start very far away in terms of kilometers, in terms of miles, like a whole town. But then as you search for the people, you become closer and closer. But in this social distancing world that we're currently in, we have a feature to where it's, if you're in a certain radius of the person in terms of feet, you'll be able to say, okay, you found them.
Okay, and what about the radio transmission transceiver gives it the edge over a similar app that could be made for a GPS device?
Sorry, could you restate your question? Like a GPS device like our watch, or like a phone?
Yeah, like a Apple Watch or something similar.
An Apple Watch just doesn't have the technology. It has the GPS, but that's not accurate enough to do what we're talking about with the radio transceiver.
Okay.
So I'm a sometimes serious bike rider.
Yeah.
And my wife always likes to know where I am.
Yep.
So on my phone, I allow her to see my location. So what would make your product any different than player A and player B sharing their location with player C and D on their phone maps, and then they can make their way to them and try to find them? Same as, Find My Phone, but this one actually uses maps. And it's built into the phone. I mean, it's free. It's part of every iPhone.
Yeah, so in our pitch, we talked about that having a phone, I think we all know kids are always on their phones nowadays. So first off, getting the phone out of people's hands is a good thing, as well as when you're running around, it's really not good to have on you. And the biggest part of it is that the phones don't have the technology to be very accurate with finding your location. The GPS can tell you generally, let's say within I think we found it at like a 0.5 mile radius where you are, but you need to be more accurate than that when you're playing a game like Manhunt, because if I'm here and someone is over in the let's say the cafeteria, my iPhone might be like, oh, you're right next to them. But actually, I cannot see them and there are walls between us. The radio transceiver will be able to find them within feet instead of miles.
And a huge thing is also for the GPS, if you're ever using your phone to map your directions, let's say it says take a left turn and you head straight, it takes a significant amount of time before that phone now says you need to take a U-turn because you missed that. Because a lot of times I'll go the wrong way, I'll look on my phone and it will now say my car has taken a left turn when I've went straight.
It's that latency that we're fixing with the radio transceiver.
Although I don't believe that latency is actually necessarily mandated by GPS, meaning I believe that is a trade-off for power versus battery life and things like that.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to, you could actually cause a phone to update faster and solve that problem. I think what you haven't justified is why your radio, you're saying that your radio is doing a lot of things, and typical location and things takes, multiple antennas and knowledge of phase, distance, and things like that. And I think you're glossing over some of these details. Can you have any more information? Like what? And the other thing is, you're saying that your radio, you're not using the cell network. So to transmit several miles is going to actually require an interesting amount of power. And when you transmit with an interesting amount of power, the FCC begins to regulate you much more severely.
Our pitch went off without a hitch. When we got to the question part, in the beginning, killing them. In the end, I believe his name is Mr. Chin. He started to, let's just say, dig deeper into the technology we're using. And Cole, would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, having some high schoolers go against some engineers, sometimes it's not end great, but we did our best up there. So
we really tried our best.
I think the actual pitch part we had down very well. We practiced it for weeks. Before Shark Tank originally got canceled, we were basically ready. So having that extra time just made it more fluid and more genuine.
I would completely agree. Also, in the beginning, when Taryn Livingstone asked a question about marketing, my fellow entrepreneur here, Cole, absolutely crushed the question about how we would market to people, and we'd never talked about that. So when he said that, I was surprised, and I was like, wow. So I would say the first whole half of actually most of the questionnaires coming off, in the end there, he gave us a scolding question, so I'm a little rattled, but it was really good, honestly.
And the timer went out before we had to answer it, so it ends well sometimes.
It was a perfect time, like Saved by the Bell.
Sure. So ChronoG, hello, great pitch, guys. So I think for me the biggest concerns were just the radio technology that you were talking about. I think that Doug here could also speak to that, but and also the target market I found to be a little bit confusing because you're going for 14 to 20-year-olds who don't have their phones on them while they're going to be playing this game and going very far away from each other. So it was a little bit confusing for me personally. I think that it's a really cool concept. I think that VR, AR games are becoming so big. You guys all experienced what was Pokemon Go, that era. Definitely there's a lot of potential in that sort of a market. And I think that you definitely are on the right steps to finding that sort of niche for yourself. So. Cool concept, but yeah. So I think that'd be the feedback I have to give.
Yeah, we did have issues concerning those things. However, if you do find a way to make the technology work, I would also explore what other applications that you might be able to find. There might be a whole world of applications outside VR, AR gaming that this could be used for, and I wouldn't limit myself based off the gaming aspect of it.